Welcome back to another episode of The Runway. I'm your host, Matty Ice, and we got a packed house today. This is a good problem to have. We've got a lot of guests with us here today. Why don't everybody go around and introduce themselves? Jill, you're on deck.
Oh, wow. Hi, I'm Jill Ford. What do you want to know?
Tell us about what you do, and not a lot of people know, but Jill's actually going to be joining our media team. She's going to have her own podcast on our network under Protocol
it's
Pulse.
called Orange is the New Jill.
Damn, whoever thought of that is a
you
genius.
did.
Whoever thought of that is a genius. That's all I got to say.
Yes. Also, I'm pretty big in the mining community, in the Bitcoin mining community, and I co-founded a company called Bit4 Digital, and we help miners with all their procurement needs.
You've definitely helped me over the years with my procurement needs. So we're going to give you a good plug. She does great business, and it's always a pleasure to work with you, Jill.
Thank you so much.
I'm Nick. I work at the Bitcoin conference, handle all the whale-related stuff, and I'll keep it quick and pass it to Madison.
Hi, everyone. I'm Madison. I'm currently studying finance and economics at Florida Gulf Coast University, and I founded the Crypto Club on my campus.
I'm Craig Shapiro. I work at a firm called the Bear Traps Report. I'm a macro strategist. And this week I wrote a piece on Bitcoin demonetizing housing. And it's interesting because after my experience today with my pipes and my plumbing, I'm going to republish that. And it reminds me that I should not own my own house. I should let somebody else take care of my house. I should put all of my wealth out of my house into Bitcoin and just keep it moving. Because it's been a rough day.
Yeah, you almost didn't make it, and Nick volunteered to step up, and we actually ended up having both of you. You ended up being able to make it, so it all worked out, and now we have 5 of us, so it's going to be a good show today. We're going to have a lot of stuff to discuss. I didn't see your piece on housing, did I? I don't know if I did. Maybe I would love to talk about it.
It was at the end of last
maybe it was a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, it was like last week, maybe, but it was just talking about how the residential housing market is just so exorbitantly overvalued. Yeah. And that over time, when folks increasingly realize, how much it actually costs to keep a home and to own a home, and that monetary premium is gonna be removed. Bitcoin is going to capture an exorbitant amount of that share. It was a thought piece. It got some pushback, got some laughs, but look, the housing market is completely unaffordable for most Americans, and so there needs to be structural changes that come both on supply side and demand side. And I think over time, if we, have houses that are for living in, not speculating, and if we move to a society that looks more like that, I think that's going to be a beneficial society. And Bitcoin, I think, can play a very interesting role in that, as people feel like they could secure and hold wealth in something other than the price of their home. So. It was a fun little piece. I
think I actually wrote a long form about something similar as well recently. So it's interesting. Yeah. I think the millennial generation, my generation, is the first generation that's worse off than their parents, which is kind of hard to believe. It's kind of crazy when you think about America. Obviously the goal is, for your kids to do better than what you did. And now we're at a point where people my age can't afford to buy homes, which is crazy. So how are you going to start a family? How are you going to have kids? How are you going to, you know what I mean? So all of these downstream effects from broken money, people don't associate them with, this idea of printing money. But when we think about stuff like the housing market and how the houses themselves have become monetized, how they become, they have a monetary premium now, where people realize subconsciously what's happening, that, if I just hold my money in my bank account, the government's going to print money and essentially steal from me. They're going to steal my life's energy. So I need to buy a hard asset. Well, housing has really become that main asset because it's physical property, and property, obviously has value and it has scarcity. So, but we have now the downstream effect where, people that are coming into their, years where you'd have children can't afford homes. They can't start families, right? So, this really does have many perverse incentives that shake the foundation of a society and of a civilization.
Yeah, look, it's not clear. The American dream has been built on this idea that everybody should own a house, and we should continue to sponsor and support that endeavor. But what it's led to is it's led to an affordability crisis. It's led to, folks being completely priced out of their ability to actually procure that dream. We have policies in place that consistently favor asset owners and homeowners over renters. And is that the type of society that we want to live in, where, you know, people, like you said, Matt, are just coming out of college or whatever, they just literally can't afford it. And there's really no hope of affording it either. And there's, you know, clearly calls now from, you know, the head of the housing, Fannie and Freddie, you know, Bill Pulte, who's calling pretty aggressively for the Fed to cut rates. And it's, you know, in order to, let's say, lower housing costs. But it's not clear that lowering interest rates is actually going to lead to lower housing prices, right? I mean, if we think about lowering interest rates and the dollar debasement that could come with that, and the printing that comes along with that, you know, house prices may go up.
It would go up.
And we also, you know, you saw it today, and we can get into it, but there was some, you know, talks, you know, that Trump is really actively talking about firing Chair Powell. And what happened was exactly what I would have thought would happen. Was the dollar got hit, the front end of the curve, Fed funds rates fell, like as if a new guy would come in and cut rates, and the long end of the curve, which is where mortgages are set, yields went up. Yields went up a lot. So it's the market kind of telling you exactly what it thinks is going to happen if we cut rates, which is the long end of the curve. Interest rates are going to go up, which is just going to keep housing affordability, you know, even more of an issue, because there's concern that inflation would not be addressed properly if the Fed cuts rates. So, you know, we're in a predicament here, and part of it is this idea of monetary premium that's associated with residential real estate and the support of residential real estate. The Fed has bought trillions of dollars of mortgages over time and holds that on their balance sheet, so it keeps housing prices more elevated than they should. And so affordability is, I think, never been worse for housing affordability.
Yeah.
And you know, it's going to be you know, it's tough, and it's not clear that cutting rates is the answer. It's probably just going to make the problem worse.
So you basically, what, if I understand what you're saying correctly here, if the Fed cuts rates, are you saying that mortgage rates would actually go up instead of go down?
I think what he's saying is the actual price of the home would go up. Like the cost of the house would go up, but the rate will be lower on the loan you're taking.
I mean, it's possible both would happen. Actually, you know, if you think about what happened today specifically, is that mortgages, which are set off the, you know, 10-year or 30-year part of the curve, those interest rates went up. So mortgage rates actually could go up if the Fed cuts rates. And
really?
the idea
That's
behind,
what I was curious about.
So that happened in the fall of last year. The Fed cut rates 50 basis points in September, and then again in November, 25 basis points, and then 25 more basis points in December. And
man, it seems like they're really cutting rates right before the election.
They did do that.
Wow.
They did do that.
That's a little weird.
There was a little bit of political.
Wasn't inflation higher then? I mean,
look, I mean, Powell was.
God, that's a little
you know,
sus.
Powell's a Republican, and he was put into play by Trump, and then again by Biden. But whatever, we can get into that. But what wound up happening was the back end of the curve, where mortgages are set, yields actually went up through the period of September through the end of the year by close to 100 basis points. So mortgage rates went up despite the Fed cutting. And the idea behind that is that inflation, in theory, not being addressed concerns people who are investors in the long end of the bond market. The worst thing that you can have as someone who invests in the 10-year part of the curve or the 30-year part of the curve is inflation, right? You're being paid back in deflated money. If you own a 30-year bond and inflation is 2 or 3 or 4 or whatever, the actual inflation is much higher, you're getting paid back in deflated dollars. And so that's what concerns the long end of the bond market. So this idea that when the Fed cut rates into Trump being elected, into this pro-growth agenda that Trump was going to have with tax cuts, the bond market said, oh shit, like inflation's probably going to come back. We need to be compensated more appropriately for that. And so mortgage rates went up.
But mortgage rates are down. I mean, they went up in the short term,
so
came down.
So they went up. They went up to the end of the year,
okay,
and then they came down. They started to come back down again in the first few months of the year. But I think 30-year mortgages are like 6.7, 6.8. So look, they're not.
That's insane.
They're high,
that is
right? They're high versus recent history over the last 5, 6, 8 years. They're average versus the last 30 years, right? So, but yeah, it's not assured that mortgage rates are going to come down just because the Fed cuts rates.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was curious about. I thought that was a given a long enough time. Maybe not right immediately, but the idea behind that is they would come down. I think that's what a lot of people are banking on.
Right, and I think that's part of the reason why the Fed, I think, has been a little bit more reluctant to cut rates than not. Is they are concerned about this idea that inflation will fester, wealth effect will continue to move higher. Bitcoin keeps going, the dollar gets debased, gold is moving higher, stocks are moving higher, the wealth of the society of people who own assets continues to move higher, and part of that wealth gets distributed into housing, and so housing prices may not fall either. So that's that.
Paul, can you
that could
pull
be a
up the
possible
latest
concern there.
inflation data that we've been looking at? And did somebody comment on the stream already? Let's see here.
With all the supply of the houses. how do
Great
you think
lineup
that'll
today.
affect
Oh,
it?
Alessandro, what's up, brother? How's it going? Hopefully we'll have you in on Friday. Great lineup today. Pumped for this. Yeah, we do have a great lineup today. So it looks like a lot of the data is showing that we're under the, inflation is falling still. What are your thoughts there, Craig? How do you feel about this? Maybe we haven't talked since you did write the piece on mafia capitalism that you said or whatever. What did you call it?
I did write one on
I had some comments
the mafia,
on it,
the Don Mafia, being
I just don't think that's viable long term. I don't,
Well,
there's just so many companies and stuff.
That's the strategy that Trump is employing, right? He is threatening. Basically, the biggest issue, and I don't think I posted this today, but I done it in my Discord room. With the biggest issue facing the American populace today, concern, is inflation. Most people, 50+% of people, when asked kind of their biggest concern, their concerns about inflation. And so the administration is hypersensitive to this. And Trump is doing whatever he can to continue to remind people how good he is at bringing prices down. And that's what he's going to continue to try to work to. And, to be fair, I mean, he's done a reasonable job. If you want to give him, how much credit do we want to associate to him specifically? Hard to say, but gasoline prices are lower and some of the food prices are lower, and tariffs so far have not been inflationary. And
Zero Hedge had an interesting post today about tariffs, kind of who's absorbing the effect.
Yeah.
Paul, can you pull that up? I think I flagged it. If it's not on my bookmark list, you could just go to Zero Hedge and find it. But it should be in my top 20 bookmarks.
Yeah, but the idea for that post.
So yeah, this right here: consumers are not paying for tariffs. CPI below estimates month after month, and court margins starting to expand. Foreigners eating all tariff costs. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I mean, so far the importers have been forced to pay higher prices for goods that have come in, and it hasn't yet filtered into end prices for the most part. Although the numbers that came out today, showed some goods inflation is starting, and it's likely to continue over the course of the next few months. So yeah, look, it's not 10% tariff or 30 or whatever the number isn't going to be felt directly by the consumer. Some of that's going to be paid by the foreign company. Someone's going to be paid by the importer. Someone's going to be paid by the company, the end product seller, the retail company in corporate margins. So it gets dispersed throughout the value chain. But look, I mean, prices are, like used car prices now are even higher again in large part because of tariffs on new cars. So it depends on the product. It depends on where it is. But to say it has zero effect, I don't think is accurate. It's certainly not as big of an effect as maybe people originally thought it was going to be. But because companies are not as, they're not as in a good enough place to kind of push aggressive prices through anymore, like they were during COVID or right after to COVID, because consumers are stretched, right? I mean, people are feeling the brunt of this higher prices and wage gains, which aren't really keeping up. So the point of that piece was like that Trump is trying to so Trump's hip to this, and so he's doing whatever he can to get prices down, right? He basically threatens everybody who talks about raising prices, right? He's threatened Walmart, he's threatened Apple, he's threatened various companies, and he's basically he's threatening OPEC about raising oil prices, and he's kind of trying to run the economy like a mafia don, right? He's trying to basically, he's making people offers that they, can't refuse. I mean, and so, and people don't want to necessarily get on his bad side. And to your point, Matt, it's how sustainable is this? Not very sustainable over a long period of time, but while Trump controls the pulpit and he's able to, espouse the narrative that he wants. He's been reasonably successful. And look, it shows up, ultimately it'll show up in his polling, and it'll show up in, special elections that happen, and they'll eventually get shown up in the midterms. So we'll see how long he's able to keep this going.
Interesting. What else you got for us, Paul? Let's move along to the next take so we can get some, I know me and Craig can riff on the macro stuff forever, but let's look at some other takes here. Let's see here. So let's talk about this 180,000 Bitcoin that apparently right before the Biden administration sold right before Trump got into office. They had the U.S. Marshals liquidate all this. I think the Bitcoin therapist here says, you're telling me the U.S. government sold 180,000 Bitcoin while Biden was in office, and we're still at 120,000. Holy shit. So I guess there was
in January.
In January?
Like, what were we at?
I want to say we were between 80 and 110, So we've kind of been fluctuating in that range for quite a while.
Grok doesn't seem to agree with that.
But yeah, Grok, is this true? No, this claim is inaccurate. But I think it's just it doesn't have the latest data. I think that was it Lola Leitz who recently broke this. She was doing some FOIA requests, and they actually FOIA'd the U.S. Marshals and were like, "Hey, how much Bitcoin is left? How much do you guys have?" And they came back and they were like, "Oh, we got 20,000 out of the 210,000 we're supposed to have." So either somebody stole it or who knows. But Paul, can you find that story?
It all went to the big guy.
It all went to the big guy. That's like 90% for the big guy, 80% for the big guy.
Good cut.
Damn. Crazy.
What is it you want me to look up?
I think it's Lola Leitz who did the FOIA request on this. Did you Nick, did you see anything more on this? Did you have any other insights? Because I know
I know David Bailey was.
yeah, David had he was the one who hired her, I think, to look into this.
Yeah.
And I guess he's gonna. I saw he was like, "Oh, I'll send you 10K or whatever."
What's her handle?
I think it's 3. Then the Lola, then 3 Leitz, like Leitz, but the E's are 3. No, it's like Lola Leitz, but with 2 3s instead of. I could be wrong here. I think it might be even a Z at the end. Lola space Leitz with a Z. Go to David Bailey's page. I think maybe you'll find more information there.
Well,
Look at the bottom. Look at it's right there.
Where is it? Where do you see it?
Right there.
Yeah, that's her. Yeah. So I think she did this investigative journalism. Here it is. Go up. Mark my words. Looks like you owe me 10,000. Man of your word. Looks like you owe me 10,000. I will pay 10,000 to the first journalist who can get U.S. Marshals to confirm the quantity of Bitcoin and crypto they're currently holding. So pretty interesting. Have you seen anything on this, Craig?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, it looks
At least we're not selling them anymore.
Yeah,
right?
It looks like on the way out the door, the Biden admin wanted to give a final fuck you, and they just
It's on par for.
Yeah, it sounds about right.
His tenure.
One of the most incompetent administrations ever. It seems like
He probably didn't even know he was selling them.
he did. He had no clue. I mean, the
he
auto
probably
pen
doesn't
was doing
even know
this.
what Bitcoin is.
This was the communists who were running the auto pen. I saw one of those.
That was Giuseppe.
Giuseppe. I saw one yesterday was like giving a speech at a university. Somebody posted, I can't remember who, but she was the one who was controlling, what's her name? Anita or something, Anita Dunn or something. She was like they had this like speech, I think it was DC Drano who posted her, and she's like glorifying like Mao, the dictator from China who killed like 5 million people. She's like reading his quotes and stuff. I'm like, what is this? What is going on here? Crazy.
So America has what, 30,000 Bitcoin now?
Apparently we have much less than we thought. I
was reading, like, kind of following this on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, and how it kind of affects the Bitcoin reserve.
Mm-hmm.
And if we only have 28,000 Bitcoin and we're going to buy to get to this much more, we have so much more we have to buy because we're only at 28,000, not 180,000. So pretty bullish on the price of Bitcoin.
If we ever start buying it.
If we ever start buying it.
Yeah.
If we're not already.
See how that plays out. What do you think, Madison? Weigh in here. Get up on the mic. Tell us your thoughts.
I feel like, in my opinion, we'll never really know what's going on. No matter how much research we do or how much we think we know about the government, we'll never really know. So the best thing we can do is just look out for ourselves and buy Bitcoin for ourselves. But I mean, we would want our government to start buying Bitcoin, obviously, so we can compete with the rest of the world. But no matter what they tell us, you can't really tell
Isn't
what's
that
the
crazy?
truth. Yeah,
because they're supposed to be like a public organization. Like we're private individuals, and it's like they're for the public, and we still can't get information. We don't have no idea. There's like no transparency. Doesn't that like blow your mind?
I think they're just going to seize Bitcoin.
What's up?
They're gonna take it.
That's what they have. That's how they got that to begin with.
They're not ever gonna buy it. They're just gonna seize it.
And that's what I think they're going to be doing with like the whole mortgages stuff. Like, because it's only on exchanges, the mortgages, like the Bitcoin that you can use as collateral. Like, so it's all right. So basically, now you're leveraged against your home. It's like, so now it's really not your Bitcoin.
Well, I think we clarified that at one point. I think what Pulte and the FHA, what they were trying to say was you can use crypto to qualify for a mortgage, not necessarily to get to like, as you know what I mean, not necessarily to post it as collateral. I think CJK is doing that, and a couple other people. There's other lending firms where you can borrow against your Bitcoin, and maybe it goes into a third party custodian thing. But I think what he was saying is because usually they want to prove they want to see like what assets you have when you try to qualify for a mortgage. It's like you have to prove income, or you have to prove like
but even then, now they know how much Bitcoin you have. You're telling them exactly how many Bitcoin you have.
You got to speak into the mic.
You're literally telling them and showing them your address and everything, giving them all this information, which gives them like.
Well, you're showing the mortgage lender, right? So you're not showing the government. You're showing the private lender who's going to give you the capital. That's the idea. That's what it's supposed to be.
Which, if you kind of like play this out, it's like, all right, you do something wrong. You've given this information to somebody. They get served, or whatever. Now they have to give their data over, and all of a sudden, all your information is out there.
I think it's better to have the capability and the ability to use it if you have to qualify for a mortgage. And I know Pulte was talking about as well, using like if you've been renting a place for like 5 years or 2 years or whatever, it's like, why can't you use the history that you were paying? He's like, if you're paying $2,200 of rent every month for 2 years, why the hell can't you? How can you be denied for a mortgage that would charge you $1,800 per month to pay the mortgage? Like, it just doesn't make sense. So I think they're taking some of these interesting ideas into equation, and it's nice to have the option to have your crypto treated as an actual asset that is based on the market, which obviously we know it has a market value, but for whatever reason, all this other stuff, we haven't been able to utilize that.
My husband's going through the mortgage process right now, and we have Bitcoin, and there was one company that would do like 40, they would use Bitcoin, but they'd only take 40% as collateral. And the other one said that we needed to liquidate.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. So did you need to liquidate to pay the down payment, or how did that work?
They would want us to liquidate to pay the down payment.
So they want you to use the Bitcoin to pay the down payment.
Exactly.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Yes.
So you're just selling an asset to have a down payment on something.
And then I asked my loan officer about, the whole like FHA.
Ideas into equation. Whoa.
Oh, he came
I don't
back.
know what that was.
And she just said that it was, it wasn't, you couldn't use it as collateral. Yeah.
So I think, this is, how long ago was this?
Like 2 days ago.
Oh, like 2 days ago. Okay. I know Pulte just put this out like last week, so it's probably going to take its time to work its way through, the standards, and they're going to have to write something up, and then they bring it down, and it goes to loan officers, and they have to read it and go through a course, and now they have updated guidance on how they can handle the loan process. But of course, everything moves super slow when it comes to government regulations and rules and all these different things.
Yeah, I'm actually working on a Bitcoin mortgage project right now at my school in my real estate finance class. And I don't know a lot about it, but I've been researching, and I've seen that some places are thinking of treating Bitcoin as, like, since it's so volatile, treating it like a art piece or a collectible. And like you said, only counting 50% of it, with everything else also that they normally count, like your income, your credit score, all that stuff. And then Bitcoin would just be like that extra piece. If you weren't going to get approved before, now you can.
It can put you across the edge.
And that's like, for my generation, a lot of us have our savings in Bitcoin rather than traditional. So we're overlooked by the mortgage lenders but I think that it's really cool that they're allowing Bitcoin, because in 30 years, when that's up, there's going to be so much Bitcoin to pay back. Like, there really isn't much risk for them, which is why I think that they should really start adopting it more.
Yeah. Why don't we play this clip? I flagged this clip about this process in our show notes here.
Getting comfortable yet with crypto. If Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac do get more comfortable with it, does it kind of solve the problems in the industry of getting comfortable with it for mortgages?
On that very online, he did announce this directive on Twitter and uploaded a screenshot of the note, and that's what got a lot of industry folks unsettled a little bit, because for them, usually big announcements like these involve roundtable discussions, involve you talk to key stakeholders, it involves months of discussing, but then here we are, he just posted it on X, and of course, it got a lot of crypto bros and enthusiasts excited.
Wait, let's identify the problem here. If you have made a lot of money with crypto, at least on paper, you go out and you try to get a loan, the bank doesn't necessarily count that crypto wealth toward approving you for a mortgage, right?
Because, and what he's saying is when it comes to crypto mortgage assessment, he wants Bitcoin and all your assets to be included. Because, for example, if you're a Bitcoin billionaire, but you just have a little in fiat currency or dollars, then no one will care that you're a Bitcoin billionaire. So this is just really that, counting it as part of the risk assessments. And you both would know, if you're a mortgage, if you have a mortgage, that usually it's really your income and the house as your collateral that are the primary drivers. But assets also play a role, although quite secondary. Your savings, your 401k. And so that's what they want to prove. And for Bitcoin holders, they're happy because they don't have to liquidate their holdings to put in a down payment or to prove that they have the cash.
It's interesting. You have Bill Pulte really also looking at the traditional way credit scoring works, FICO versus Vantage 4.0. The question to me is, when does a traditional lender say, I'm going to take your Bitcoin and lend against it?
Isabel?
That is a big question, and we actually have startups like that. Milo, for instance, it's a Miami-based startup. From start to finish, it does that. But then in the traditional space, we still don't have it. And a lot of questions remain because Bitcoin is so volatile. In a month, it can move 40% on the upside or the downside. So how will that go?
Yeah, so this is an actual, I flagged this because it's like mainstream, like Bloomberg. This is like, what somebody's watching, whatever, they'll just see this on their terminal. So I think, the conversations are getting increasingly more sophisticated. And I think, Bitcoin is just being treated like another asset of your portfolio. So if you want to get a mortgage now, like you can use your stocks, you can use whatever else. Now you can just say, hey, look, I have this Bitcoin and, you can consider it as part of my wealth for my overall financial picture. I think this is huge. Anybody have any thoughts?
I think it's huge also. And I think we're in the very, 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 very early stages of this. So we're learning on the fly kind of thing. And when we look back on this, it'll be like, oh, well, yeah, at that point it was like, oh my God.
It was inevitable.
But it's also like,
I actually wrote an article in the newspaper, a guest essay from one of these local newspapers about this very thing like 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah, and just move slow, but it's going to happen. And, it's inevitable because eventually Bitcoiners are going to make up a big portion of the richest people in America. And they're going to want, like the banks are going to want their mortgages. They're going to want their business. Yeah. And it's just going to get better and better from here. It's never going to be as bad as it is right now in terms of this product.
Yeah, interesting point. Paul, you have in the show notes here too a discussion about rare earths. I don't know if I had a post on that, but maybe in the bookmarks there is. Craig, what do you think about this? I think the article that I saw was about how now we're going to start doing, I think the Pentagon owns a piece of some company that's doing this or something. I mean, do you have any insights on this?
Yeah, I posted a little bit about this. I mean, basically the idea here is...
It's not China, Paul. There was a recent article about how we are starting in America.
So there's rare earths are they're rare, but they're not rare. But they're important to every major electronic, every major military, basically every major manufactured good application everywhere. And China controls processing for like 95% of global market share. And so the idea, or what we learned after the beginning of this trade war from earlier in the year, where Trump went rogue and charged China 145% tariffs at one point, is that China's like, you want to do that? Cool. We're completely eliminating all rare earth exports to America while you do that. So have fun with that. And I think that the administration didn't realize how important the rare earths supply chain was, and that really, China could shut down large parts of the American manufacturing base and American manufacturing companies. I mean, it's integral for autos, it's integral for Apple, it's integral for literally for everything, let alone the military, which we could put that to a side for a second. But without rare earths, like, our economy really can't work. And so China said, you want to tariff us that much? Cool, we're not sending them. If you look at China rare earth exports back to America for the months of February, March, and April, they plummeted massively. And so this was China's strategy of supply chain deterrence. And China's like, cool, you want to talk trade, come to Geneva, we'll talk, remove the tariffs. And we also want you to continue to sell us NVIDIA AI chips, right? Because we need those. We don't have those. We don't have the highest generation chips for AI. We need NVIDIA chips. The Biden administration and then Trump again reiterated that those chip bans would be in place. China's like, we need those too. And so that's been the negotiation of the trade talks in Geneva and then again London between the U.S. and China. And I think what we learned and what I wrote about a little bit is like China kind of stood up to Trump and kind of said, why don't you sit down? And it was a reminder, at least to me, it's like we don't have the type of power that we think we do necessarily. And Trump, I think, had to kind of put his tail between his legs. I don't think the administration realized how critical that Achilles heel was of not being able to have our own rare earths. And so the administration did these trade negotiations, got the flow back going. And then what the DOD decided earlier in the week, or was last week, they're making a massive investment into the U.S.'s only major rare earth manufacturer. A company called MP Materials.
MP Materials, okay.
Mountain Pass. They have big mine. They're currently producing, and this investment was going to basically more than double their capacity. It's going to take another 3 years to bring it online, and that would effectively make the U.S. very close to self-sufficient in rare earth processing capabilities in 2028 or 2029. And so it still is going to take some time. But look, I think it was a good idea for the administration to realize that quickly that this was a problem, and this is how you address it. It's basically government money to print. Effectively, it's printed money to buy hard asset, right? It's the government's way of printing fiat to buy hard asset rare earths, which are needed in order to keep the United States competitive in global manufacturing. And so that was the gist. And then what we learned last night, or that was the night before, is that NVIDIA now can sell chips back to China again. So there's a little bit of a quid pro quo there that went on, but I think it makes sense. And now that the administration has pivoted a bit away from being extremely hawkish on trade versus China, and they're kind of going after other countries, right? They're putting tariffs on Japan and Korea. And
we have
Europe
an agreement with China now, don't we? I mean, did they agreed to?
Oh, we have an agreement that it lasts until August 9th, and we'll see what happens with that agreement. Just like we have an agreement with these other countries through August 1st, and at August 1st, basically all these tariffs will go up, and then in August 9th, it's possible the tariffs could change if Trump or China doesn't like what's going on with the deal, but.
It looks like we had a big deal with Indonesia yesterday as well, where they agreed to pay, I think 19%, and they agreed to drop their tariffs on our stuff to zero and open up their entire market to us. So
from Trump's perspective, look, you have to think about again, from Trump's perspective, what's important is in his mind, tariff revenues coming in to the U.S. are important for Trump. He views that as a personal scorecard. These are revenues that Donald Trump, have created for America. They would not be here without me. And what we're going to do with that is we're going to use that money to pay down the debt or fund other things at home. And I think that is a reasonable...
Seems like it's happening.
It's a reasonable thesis. It's a reasonable strategy. Now, it's not 100% clear or true that foreigners pay all of the tariffs, right? We're learning that that gets paid throughout the value chain, right? Some of it is being paid by the foreign company. Some of it's being paid by the U.S. importer. Some of it's being paid by Walmart, and some of it's being paid by folks in America. So it's largely coming out of, more of it's coming out of domestic users, but a lot of it's been companies so far. That's corporate margins. But for Trump, it's money, right? The government needs a way to get that money because we are $2 trillion a year in deficits and we're $37 trillion in debt. So we need the money.
Yeah. I saw something as well earlier about how every single economist missed the PPI or some kind of thing. And J.D. Vance posted about it. I don't know what your thoughts are there, but seems like they were all wrong about
look, I mean,
not surprised, but
look, the inflation data that came out today on PPI was a miss, but there was positive revisions from last month. So look, I think what we're learning is inflation is still a problem. It's not going away.
It's never going to go away.
And it can never go away.
That's the point. They don't ever want it. They just want it to be at 2%.
You can't get rid of the debts. Right, we can't pay back the debts, so we have to inflate the debts away. It's there's no other way around it. We're never going to be able to cut deficit spending enough. We're never going to be able to make enough of a hit into the debt. So inflation is the only way out. And so the question is, can we tolerate a society that is in 2.5%? Probably, but is it really 2.5%, or is it most people are feeling most people don't feel 2.5%. They feel
it's probably way higher than what.
Right, they're feeling higher. People
they take out. I mean, the CPI is based off of the things that inflate the most, which are like housing. I think what do they take out of there? It's like things where people put their money to preserve their purchasing power.
They make a ton of adjustments that basically lower what is stated.
Hedonic
cherry-picked plus hedonic adjustments. Right. Plus they disclude the major assets. I think it's like gold and stocks and things where people places where people put their money to avoid inflation because they know those things are going to go up. So they purposely take those things out. And even Besant, I think the new goal is I think he said this 3-3-3. He wants to grow GDP 3%. He wants to normalize 3% inflation. And then what's the other thing? I don't know what it was.
Energy. $3 million, 3 million barrels.
Okay.
Guys, I found an interesting article here. Craig Shapiro.
Who's that guy?
Benzinga is reporting on you.
Oh, look at them.
Who's this guy?
They're quoted. I didn't even know. Yeah.
Isn't that the son of the lawyer?
NVIDIA's China revenue.
Why don't you guys read over it? Yeah.
But it outmaneuvers US for rare earth. Go up.
These guys just take your stuff.
For rare
this
earth
guy takes my stuff and just reposts it, I guess.
Yeah.
He does credit you, so he's linking back some traffic.
That's cool.
Yeah.
But no, that's what we're talking about. This is the
the
quid pro quo deal here that I'm referring to, which is, rare earths are important, chips are important. These are the asset classes of the next, 5, 10, 15, 20 years. And it's important for the U.S. to produce its own rare earths. It's important for the U.S. to lead in chip manufacturing. Well, the administration is focusing on these things.
Have you seen David Sachs's post about this? I mean, he's basically pushing back on Trump, and basically, so is Jensen from NVIDIA, and they're basically saying, like, look, like, if we don't push our chips into everybody's data center all over, like if we don't push our technology out there for all these countries, I think there's a big thing with the UAE and the Middle East as well. It's like, hey, we want them to use our shit because we don't want some other chip manufacturer to come in and take over, right? So I think, for better or worse, the world is largely connected. Obviously, we can play these games and say who's affected more, China or the US, but at the end of the day, like, we're so like they depend on us for shit and we depend on them for shit. And it's like you can try to say all this. And I think what Trump is saying, and this is what I feel, which is like some of these relationships are not fair. It's like being in a relationship where like, you have an abusive relationship and like there has to be some balance there. And I think Trump, the harrowing out of the middle class, and you spoke a lot about this, Craig, and I think Trump really spoke to that populist middle class message. And I think, Besant has communicated that in a way that the Chinese were able to hear and understand. And it seems like they were able to kind of make some concessions and deals from both sides, right? Trump stepped back those crazy, obviously 140% is non-sustainable, but to say, hey, look, we need to rebalance here. We're having problems at home. Our middle class is gone. We need to have some manufacturing. Look what happened during COVID. You guys wouldn't sell us masks or medicine. We don't have any domestic manufacturing. And like, obviously Trump, his methodology is like, break a window and then try to like, clean it up a little bit. But they did make concessions and the world is connected. And I think we will see a rebalancing here. And I think that people were wrong on, the tariff revenue is already well above the CBO estimates. I don't even think it's all pulled into effect yet. So they are, you're looking at this thing where they come out with these estimates and say, hey, we're not going to do this. And what we've seen so far is like they're already wrong. The revenue is already coming in more than what they predicted and projected in their independent CBO models. So, my thought is let's see how this plays out. That's kind of I'm on this wait and see approach, and so far it looks like we are going to outperform. I know Dalio's been running the circuit talking about how we can't lower taxes and we can't do all this stuff. But I think tariffs essentially are a tax in a way, and it's the cost is shared between all these different parties. But there's no doubt that other parts of the world are paying some of that cost. Even personally, like I've experienced that when I've been sourcing stuff overseas. Like, I say, hey, look, like I'm not going to pay this tariff. So if you want the deal, you got to lower your price. Yeah. And we usually like kind of meet in the middle when it comes to like, that's kind of what the vibe that I've got, but I'm just one guy negotiating. So like, there are concessions being made by other countries. So that's my thought.
Yeah. Look, it's more of a consumption related tax, right? You only pay it if you're consuming goods, right? If you don't want to pay that tax, then don't buy overseas goods. Yeah. And so it's a way to, kind of redistribute the tax revenues of the country, right? We're eliminating tax on tips. We're lowering taxes for low and middle class people. We're increasing the interest deductibility on auto purchases, right? So he's trying to remove taxes from the lowest and middle class Americans. And he's basically saying we're going to replace that with tariffs on people who buy stuff. And if you're lower middle class, you're not buying, very expensive things and paying very expensive tariffs on them. But if you're wealthy, and you're going to pay more. And so it is a little bit of a redistributive taxing program that is, called tariffs. And so it doesn't have as bad of a name. And look, I think it's the right, clearly we've been through this a ton of times. It's absolutely the right strategy. It's the way to bring back manufacturing. It's the way to help shore up parts of the government's deficits. And so it is absolutely needed. It is anti-growth. But it's okay. It's not the end of it's not the end of the world.
I mean, if you keep those rates 10, 20, 30%, which seems to be the range everything's settling in, it's not going to it's not going to end business relationships. I mean, that can be absorbed in its new revenue. That's kind of my thought there.
Agreed.
Let's get Orange is the New Gillen on this conversation. And what are you, because you are actually, slinging deals and selling equipment overseas.
Yeah, I'm bringing stuff in all the time.
I see you're on logistics and stuff. How are you seeing this play out when deals are made and like with the cost?
The prices are just higher, or people are just bringing equipment into the U.S. or they're just sourcing it in the U.S. It really depends on my client's budget. So if they don't have a big budget, they're going with used whatever here.
So you're actually saying that it's discouraging foreign things, and you're seeing, because you're actually on the ground. Like she's actually buying, flipping, selling, dealing with logistics, collecting duties, all that kind of shit. So tell us what you're seeing. What you're seeing actually makes sense, and it sounds like that's what's happening, right?
Yeah, I mean, you're either just raising your prices and accepting that there's a tariff in there. You know, that's what my clients that are buying overseas, they've just learned that, okay, I'm going to have a 57% tariff on it. Or if you don't want to pay the 57% tariff, then you're sourcing from someone that has a stock within the United States, but it's usually inflated. It just, for my clients, they have to pay the tariff. They don't have a choice because ASICs come from China.
Yeah. Have you seen the manufacturers overseas being willing to drop their prices at all to kind of work with more clients to get deals done?
No.
You haven't seen that at all yet?
I haven't seen that at all yet.
Okay.
Yeah, I think
I personally have.
You have?
Yeah,
okay.
experience. Like, hey, I'm not like, if you want to do $1 million deal, like I'm not, if you want the business, like you're going to have to meet me in the middle here or do something, which, that's what's happened.
Yeah. I mean, I totally see that, but not on, I guess for like ASIC machines, I'm not really seeing that. The price is the price and it's an understood, like Bitmain's not doing anything to make it more incentivizing.
Oh yeah. I guess, there's also, what I've seen too is a lot of deals that were no longer like buying from overseas. Now I'm buying inside the US and just
absolutely.
paying. Yeah, so
I have clients that are like, okay, I don't even want to import anything because I'm scared and I don't want to deal with the tariffs. So they're just buying them from US sellers who have imported them themselves.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's a new dynamic. I don't think it's slowing anything down by any means.
Yeah, it's just kind of changing.
Yeah, it's just
the money's changing hands.
Yeah. It's just changing the expectations too. But to be fair, like we're always on our toes buying from Chinese manufacturers. Things are always changing, and this year has just increased that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move along to the next take here. Cantor Fitzgerald closed a $4 billion SPAC deal with Adam Back to buy billions of Bitcoin. What do you guys think about this? You know anything about this, Nick?
Is this anything have to do with like the XX1 company with Jack Mallers, or is this something different?
No, so I think Adam Back has like the Aqua Wallet and the Dolphin card he's working on. Blockstream is his company.
Then no, I don't know.
You don't know anything about it?
I think this is, I don't know specifically either, but this is just put this in the camp of companies employing various aspects of Saylor's strategy of raising fiat to buy Bitcoin, right? And put it on their balance sheet in any way possible. And so, look, it's not clear as an investor why you would want to give money to this SPAC to then go have the SPAC go buy Bitcoin for you, unless you thought, or unless one, you couldn't buy Bitcoin yourself because you're some sort of entity that can't do that. And that is much, there's way fewer entities that can't buy Bitcoin directly today than there were, let's say, 3-4 years ago. So that, I don't know. Or two, you think that the combination of Adam Back, given his experience and knowledge, and
OG Cypherpunk,
is
going to have him on this pod,
is going to be able to buy Bitcoin or Bitcoin related companies better than you can. And so you want to, you pay up some premium to NAV to do that. But look, as long as the capital markets continue to be open for this type of behavior, we're going to keep seeing stuff like this, whether it's, these guys and SPACs, or whether it's different parts of the capital structure that converts or preferreds that MicroStrategy is doing, or what Jack's doing, or Metaplanet, or a variety of other companies. I'm still surprised that like companies like Tesla, which have previously bought Bitcoin, still hold Bitcoin on the balance sheet. Why this is not something that Elon's doing more aggressively, buying Bitcoin again, or why NVIDIA isn't buying Bitcoin. It only takes one of these companies that have trillions of dollars of market cap, have hundreds of billions of dollars of cash, to start saying, yeah, we're putting some on. Like, I know there's been shareholder proposals on a variety of these. I think Microsoft had one. It failed. But man, it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me anymore that these companies are still so low. Now that the accounting laws have changed, like it's only a matter of time until one company comes out, one big company comes out and says they've done it, and you're going to have one of these God candles in a day again, right? It's going to be like, oh shit, all these companies can still do this. Like, we forgot about them.
It really goes to tell you the genius of Saylor. He's so ahead of this. He just like gets it, and he's just like fucking hitting the ATM, just pounding it in. It's crazy.
Just pounding it in. It's really just like game theory. Just like there's states are adopting it, companies are adopting it. It's inevitable that every company eventually will adopt it, some sooner than others. But like MicroStrategy, they were a dying company or a zombie company. They weren't really growing or shrinking. They're just kind of like barely getting by. So they needed to do something to Metaplanet also. Microsoft doesn't need to do it. Tesla doesn't need to do it. It's not a priority for them. They're very well off. They're one of the biggest companies in the world. So their business model is currently working.
Yeah.
So they're not as incentivized at the moment. But once MicroStrategy is now bigger than them or almost on the same level as them, but they're not even doing anything other than buying Bitcoin, it's like, well, shit, we need to now adopt or be left behind, become a zombie company compared to them. So eventually they're all going to, but at the moment they don't need to.
Yeah.
So.
No, look, investors are continuing to throw a lot of market cap behind these companies that are doing this. I'd much prefer to just own the Bitcoin myself.
Yeah.
But look, it's buying these companies it's just degrees of leverage, right? You can either buy levered Bitcoin on some exchange, or you could buy MicroStrategy at some multiple of NAV or one of these other companies or what. But, look, and I think it works for different people's risk tolerance or risk appetite, to own an equity versus to own a, Bitcoin on a Coinbase account or have it in cold storage, right? There's still complexity with, for some people to buy this, although now with the ETFs, it's pretty easy to just own it. I think the IBIT, which is the BlackRock one, but it's basically the single fastest growing ETF in the history of ETFs.
They make more money on that ETF, BlackRock, than any other ETF they've ever launched, which is
crazy.
Insane. It's only been around for what? A little over a year?
It's been a year. I don't even know if it's been a year.
Well, I know they got approved in like January of last year, but I don't know when they actually like launched.
Yeah.
But it's either way. 12 months, 18 months doesn't really matter. Yep. They make more money on that ETF than any other ETF.
That's crazy. What about this idea of Bitcoin? I mean, the reason I buy MicroStrategy is because like when I was like reading about how Saylor was going to deliver Bitcoin yield. So like my share will own more Bitcoin over time on the balance sheet. Like to me, that was like, wow, that's so interesting. Well, that's why I have like bought and held MicroStrategy.
Saying, well, they can borrow money at a rate much better than all.
Of course,
yeah. So it's like, all right, if they can continue doing that, get money cheaper than I can get, and use that to continue to buy more Bitcoin, they're going to be able to accumulate more Bitcoin than I would be able to do myself. So that's why, like, that just made I keep everything really simple. And, like that made sense,
right? And so that needs to just be balanced with the premium that you're paying over the NAV, right? So at 3 times NAV, they need to grow the Bitcoin per share at such an accelerated rate that it makes it more difficult for them to do that. It's possible if they can keep borrowing money or preferreds at 0 or what at 1%, but at certain times it's not. But when the premium falls, then they need to a slower rate of Bitcoin growth per share actually works for them.
What's the premium to NAV right now?
I don't know.
Couldn't even tell you.
There's a website for that, but I think it's been in the 2-3 camp, 200-300% premium to NAV for quite some time.
So we have a post here, a chat comment. Isn't it hilarious that GameStop decided not to buy Bitcoin? I don't think that's accurate.
They bought Bitcoin.
To Harry.
They bought like
I think they did
million,
buy Bitcoin. Yeah, I don't think that's accurate. But maybe they didn't buy. I feel like I remember saying like they didn't buy a lot, or they didn't buy as much as people wanted, or something like that. But they definitely bought some.
They announced it at our conference.
I think they announced it at the
David
Bitcoin.
Bailey did an interview with Ryan Cohen. He announced that they bought it, but it just wasn't like they have $9 billion on their balance sheet, and they only bought like $500 million.
Oh, so he just like he barely did his toe in. He did like and then Bitcoin went up like $40,000 since the announcement.
But if you really think about it, that's a lot of people's journey. You don't just go all in right away. You do it. Oh shit! I bought 500 million. Now we're sitting at Bitcoin 120,000.
You got to get up to the mic, brother.
Bitcoin's at 120,000. So how's that performance doing for them?
Yeah.
And so, okay, well, now I'm gonna put a little bit more in, a little bit more, and eventually just slowly takes over their entire portfolio. But I mean, you can't kind of like half-ass that strategy.
Orange pill here, I guess. Yeah.
he had an interview yesterday, and it was like the most boring, like unentertained. It's just like no emotion, and just like I'm like, what? Like, are you a robot, bro? Are you one of those? What were those things we were watching earlier on Grok?
Oh, the companions. Speaking of which, let's go to that's the next topic. We got to talk about the companions because look at this shit.
We're finally getting girlfriends.
So many Bitcoiners are finally going to get girlfriends.
Companion.
So like I hadn't really played with this thing too much yet. I just like saw it yesterday. So I'm like sitting in bed with my girl, and like my dog is like I have like a little Shih Tzu Penny, and she's just like licking me. She's just like licking my shoulder, and I'm like, I open up. I was like, oh, my girl's like, that's gross. What is she doing to you? I'm like, she's just licking my shoulder, and I was like, don't you know that dogs have like their saliva cleans like bacteria or whatever, like it's cleaning. And she's like, no, that's a myth. And I'm like, all right, well, I'm gonna ask my new companion. so I open up this chick, and I'm just like, I pull it up.
You got to make sure you like the words you're using. You're opening the chick up.
No, I opened there like, come on. I opened up Grok, and there she is. Annie is her name. I opened her up, and I'm like, hey, is it like she's just. I opened up, and she's like, hey there, sexy. I'm like, whoa,
that's right.
My girl's eye.
That's right.
And then she go. I'm like, is it true that like dog saliva is like has like cleaning enzymes or whatever in it or whatever? And she's like, that is true. That is not a myth or whatever. And she goes off and she's like, well, when dog
zaddy.
She says something like, she goes, yeah. She's like, so let me know if you want to have any more licks or anything like that. And she says something completely like sexual. My girl's like, you better turn that off. She was not having it. She was like, this shit is weird.
This is like, what's the movie I told you I watched yesterday?
Deus Ex Machina.
This is literally, because they have you guys seen that movie? So basically this guy is a scientist, created these dolls or robots, and he basically programmed them to be able to manipulate empathy, sexual.
Yeah.
And this was like 7 years ago. And now we're starting to see like.
Yeah, but I was like, it's just she legitimately was like, yo, this is weird.
It is
like, it is very weird.
How many weird people live in this world that are probably on there and probably going to get engaged to one of them, get divorced because of one of them, spend too much time talking to one. Like, I
was like dying laughing because like I'm like, are we really at this point in 2025 where I'm arguing with my girl about my 2D anime waifu companion AI? Like, what is happening?
My metaverse side
She was not having it. She was not happy about it. She was like, what do you girls think about this?
Maybe I should like let my husband have one.
Apparently.
It'll keep him entertained.
Well, it comes standard with Grok now. What do you think, Jill? Do you think it's weird, or do you have a different
I think it's weird, but I did see a movie called Companion, and it was just in theater. So, really? I mean, it was about an AI robot that looked like a girl that did all the things. So
did all the things. So this doesn't. That's what I tried to tell her. I'm like, this doesn't do all the things. So
I think
like, don't worry about this thing. It is literally a 2D.
You can have an emotional affair with a.
I don't know. It's like
companion.
This is very strange. But so you don't have a problem with it if you're.
I would have a problem with it. I'd be very jealous.
You'd be jealous. Yeah.
I mean, I just feel like really, but then again, like sometimes I just want my own space. So if he wants to go talk to his.
I have a feeling that 20 years from now, it's only going to be Amish people left on Earth.
Probably.
Madison, what's your take?
I mean, if I had a boyfriend, I'd be like, I don't care if you want to talk to her. Like, she's fake. Talk to her.
That's kind of what my thought was.
I'd rather him do that than
like
cheat on me.
Also, like, is there a guy version?
There is coming out. I sent it to her today. I sent her a picture of the guy version, I think. I was like, here, you can talk to this guy.
China is going to dominate
be able to open
if this is the direction we're headed as a country.
Yeah, we're going to have to get M3 on this. He's got chat GPT psychosis right now. So we're going to get him over to his companion on Grok.
Does it always have to look like an anime girl, or can you make it look like a real person?
Well, so far, the ones that I've seen is there's this, and then there's this thing called Rudy, which is like this little furry ferret. And I was trying to talk to, and I showed her. She's like, "You need to talk to the ferret. Don't talk to the girl."
Bro, it's the same thing.
His name's Rudy, but it's like this little thing. So I don't know. It was just an interesting.
All right, let's just read some of these comments because I feel like this is a miss, a swing and a miss from Elon here. I get it, but I really agree with this comment here.
Thank you for sharing. It is cringe and depraved. No wonder not one mother of your children wants to be near you.
Okay, I don't agree with all that, but I agree with it. It's cringe and depraved.
Like a bot coming in with a personal
and I think
tag.
it is cringe as hell. Like, why now? There's so many more important things to focus on.
Fictosexuality.
This is only Hold on,
let's read what this is. Fictosexuality. Fictosexuality is sexual attraction towards fictional characters. Romantic attraction towards fictional characters is called fictoromantic attraction. Very wild.
We're trying to populate the planet. This is not it.
Very, very wild.
This is just called imagination. Like, what?
That's wild.
Is that, you call this imagination? Oh, you're talking about this fictosexuality thing?
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, there's a term for everything these days.
I guess so. All right.
And it also seems like there's a flag for everything.
Right.
A flag for everything. Yeah. What's the flag for this one?
They just said, that
looks
Let's
like
create it right now.
Let's create
if you go down, but fictionality, they just had to
go on Grok and make oh my goodness.
The
that's the flag.
So
Holy
now
shit.
You know if you see it out in public.
If you see I'm going to get that tatted. I'm a fictosexual.
God.
Oh, this is wild. This is very wild. It's just what a crazy time to be alive, guys. What a crazy time to be alive. I just was curious what other people's opinions are on this.
Well,
it's kind of wild.
I've met people or one person in particular that literally has conversations with AI throughout the entire day.
So I actually have a post flagged about it. It's apparently becoming a serious problem. It's like creating. They have a name for it now. It's called ChatGPT psychosis or something.
My buddy
See if
has
you can pull that up. Go down. Yeah.
And it started a couple months ago. And the last time I talked to him, it was so hard to even talk to him because he was just so used to like getting certain information. It was just he's changing as a person because of it.
Well, it like mirrors whatever you say to it. So I gotta find this take in here somewhere. I don't know. I think that you're down way too far, Paul. That was like hundreds of days ago. That's from July 2nd, so it scrolled down way too far.
Shout out to Plato.
Sure. Yeah, so I thought that was cool as shit. So the purpose of I don't know if we ever talked about this, but I always wondered, like, why are our ears so funky looking? Why do they have all those like little, creases and all sorts of stuff? Whenever like I'm with I just like kind of look at them like, what is the point of those folds and those like, you know what I mean? Like, what is this? And like, so what he did was he put Play-Doh in her ear to like cover up the folds, and she could not tell where like. He put a blindfold over and was like, she could not tell where the noise was coming from. So what it does is it actually collects the sound and it tells you, okay, it's like evolution has created this thing over millions. It's just fascinating, right? Like over millions of years or whatever. And we just have this like these folds that redirect the sound and tell you where spatially somebody is talking from. So I just thought it was really cool. And with the folds, she had no clue. Like when he put the Play-Doh in, like could not tell where the noise was coming from. She's like he's like behind her and he's like over here.
So are you suggesting we shouldn't just chop off body parts?
Yeah, I would highly recommend against chopping off your ear. So I don't think you're going to be able to hear very well if that happens.
So that's very
what kind of body parts are people chopping off? I'm wondering.
What kind of body parts are people chopping off?
If that curvature of your ear has so much impact, perhaps your sexual organs might some way or another influence the overall bodily mechanics in a way that is not easily recovered from. But I pulled up this psychosis you're describing. I can't get a name on it, but here's.
Cognitive Behavioral Institute clinicians also say ChatGPT has initiated psychosis in people who weren't even prone to psychosis or schizophrenia. It's so fucking over. So like ChatGPT essentially will just like agree with whatever you tell it. Like it just like mirrors what you say. So if you're like nuts, it'll just like be like, yeah, you're not, like, it's fine to be insane. It'll just tell you like you're 100% right.
No, they're the crazy ones. You're fine.
Yeah.
I actually feel like my experience personally with like the AIs they've gotten worse for me.
Really?
Like I just don't feel like I'm getting as much value from them. And they're making me more stupid the more I use them. So there
has been some research on that recently too. That's like the more people use it to do stuff, they're getting dumber or something like that.
Just like their email, like I'll be like, here, write this email for me, and I was like prompted. I'm like, I don't like it any. Like at first I was like, oh, this is so cool. I think maybe because I was like, oh, it's so much easier than. But now it's like the substance of it. It's like. It's very
I mean, I think it's like anything else. It's a tool, right? And certain tools can be. Looks like Madison has a take on this. A tool can.
She
be,
loves AI.
Yeah, I love AI.
I love it too, but not like I don't talk to it all day long. I just use it for when I need to use it.
Like I'm looking at these quotes and I feel like I say all these things, like it understands me better and blah blah blah. And I don't think that I have psychosis. I like to say that. It's a tool, and if you're not learning how to use it, then you're putting yourself at a disadvantage.
That is true.
Because it is out there, and people are using it. So what? You're just going to say, oh, I'm not going to do it because I don't like the way it writes my email. But I'm guessing that you don't like the way it writes your email because you only do it every so often. Now, if you're asking it to write you a certain kind of email 30 or 40 times a day, after 2 weeks, it's really going to know how you want that email to be written.
Your prompts matter.
No, and that's great and all, but I want to be able to do things for myself. And I feel
moderation is key with anything. I think that's what you're getting at.
Yeah, and if you do it too much, all of a sudden it's like, well, what happens if the internet, like, obviously, hypothetically, like, the internet's not working? Can you not write an email anymore? What if you need to have a conversation face to face in this kind of, even in this kind of area? It's like AI can't really help you with that. Is it a tool? 100%. But just because it's a tool, people can use a tool or overuse a tool to make it something where it actually has a negative effect. And what I was saying earlier, I have a friend that literally uses it for like anything and everything, and it's like, it's starting to like wreak havoc in his like personal life with his with his wife, because it's just like there's things that you wouldn't see it coming, and then all of a sudden it's here. It's like, oh, it makes sense looking back on it. But I mean, I use AI. It's just I don't feel like it's being as valuable writing in emails as it used to be. But maybe that's just me wanting to be more do it my own. Like, I don't know.
Someone has a good comment here.
Oh, let's see what Alessandro has to say here. Grok is on top of the App Store in Japan. So if Elon was trying to maximize user, it seems like it's working. So the second he rolls out the anime waifu, it just shoots to the fucking top of the charts in Japan. I did see that. That was classic. You know, that made me laugh this morning when I read that.
Madison, you got
Dominic
some
Kane
support coming through.
Republic Dick Slayer. Madison is G, my little sister. All right.
All right, thank you. I have no idea. I'm sorry if I know you.
Brother.
It's her companion chiming in.
Is it her?
it's
you got your
chat.
AI. You got your AI companion chiming in here.
Yeah, he's got my back.
She's like, I love AI.
Oh man, classic.
Craig,
This is the tool I use to make sure I don't ever look stupid.
let's hear Craig's take on AI. Do you let your kids use it?
Yeah. My kids use it. I have a college age daughter. She uses it religiously. My wife uses it. I use it. Look, there's pros and cons to everything, like you're saying.
Yeah.
But I think, for those who are overusing it, are we surprised? I mean, isn't this the logical extension of what happens when you lock up a society for a year plus and don't let them out of the house during a virus, and then they don't have any socialization skills, and they don't get to talk to people, and they don't get to go out anywhere, and they feel lonely, and then you lob on top of that inflation and wealth inequality and angst about the future and whether or not your job's going to be replaced by a computer, and all of a sudden, those feelings of anxiety and depression and the like, kind of, how do you get them out? Who do you talk to? You can't just go to a therapist if you can't afford anything. You can't afford $200 an hour to a therapist. So ChatGPT is somebody to talk to, right? And
no doubt.
Whether or not that's going to ultimately lead to a society of people who are, just stay inside and look, I mean, we're already down this path, right? We're already moving rapidly on this path. And, I thought it was interesting what you said before, Madison, about the government, right? We can't trust anything that the government could say about the Bitcoins, right? It's like you're 20 years old or whatever you are. And then I mean, we're in the Bitcoin community, so we're skeptical already, but here's somebody who's new to the community and who's, new to adulthood even. And she's like, can't trust anything the government tells me or does or says. Like, that's the generation of kids that are coming into their own right now. That's what they believe, right?
Yeah.
And so they don't trust the government. They think both sides of the aisle are corrupt in a lot of ways, and institutions are screwing them. They can't afford housing. If they don't get a job, they're not going to have health care. Like, they're kind of looking out and saying, fuck, why am I paying, I have this massive college debt potentially. Like, there's societal angst developing. And I think AI is is pushing us further along that path, but it's a tool to help people cope with it. So, no, there's a lot to unpack there. For me personally, my productivity is certainly higher. My ability to filter through information is much higher. I think people who are smart, who know how to use it, can really be way more productive. I think the problem is that not that I'm tooting my own horn, but there are plenty of people who are going to be displaced in jobs where AI just completely, eliminates their need, whether it's, paralegals or researchers or, certain, junior lawyers, where you could just have ChatGPT write a legal brief in 5 seconds that it would take, a junior lawyer at $500 an hour a week to do.
Yeah.
Right. And then so where are all these white collar jobs, these college graduates with liberal art degrees or law degrees or whatever it is, where are all those jobs going to go to? And I've written some pieces about that too, this AI labor displacement, thesis, right? Where increasingly, throughout history, technology has displaced labor, and it's never really been a problem. Like, society has always thrived, and we used to have people who rode horses, and now it's like that. So, but this time around, at the risk of saying those words you're never supposed to say, I do think this time is different. Like, we are coming after white collar jobs in a way that has not been attacked before by technology. And so, yeah, there's going to be jobs for people who can no longer be junior lawyers, but they don't earn you don't earn $150,000 a year being a teacher.
I think
or being
why don't you? And I think
look, I mean, I think there's going to be a morphing of
Doug Burgum had to talk about this today, basically saying look, we need plumbers, electrician, trade schools. So AI is not displacing that.
The way to attract those people is going to be through higher wages at those levels, but that comes out of profits from different companies who maybe not able to, who don't have the margin to give those, but it'll happen over time. But if you graduated college thinking you're going to be a researcher or being a lawyer and making $150,000 a year, that career path for you is probably not going to be there. And so you may have to go back to be a plumber or a landscaper or a teacher making $40,000, $50,000 a year. It's a big jump down in your expected earning trajectory. And then with inflation and where house prices are, you're kind of screwed. And your college loan, you're kind of like, fuck, like this is a problem for me, which I think is people are realizing this. And I think it's attracting folks to crypto generally, Bitcoin, maybe more specifically, but also like, I need to figure out a way to make money to keep up because my income from whatever job I get is just not going to be enough. And I think there's more folks in the society who are picking up on that dynamic.
Sorry, are you suggesting that these unfortunate,
I'm suggesting this is an inevitability, right? That universal basic income is absolutely going to be coming.
These poor OnlyFans girls are going to have to find a new career.
I don't know if they're going to have to, but AI may displace them too, right? So, but I think there's an element. I
just saw on my phone Elon's getting sued by OnlyFans effective immediately.
But no, you're absolutely right, Craig. Wow, way to hit it, man. And it's interesting, right? I pulled up this post that kind of echoes what you're saying. With the displacements and the inevitable automation of certain sectors of industry, and this might lead to a UBI situation.
It's not might, it will. Right?
I'm taking the other side of this.
It's just a question of is it going to be enough and how are we going to fund it? And it's going to be funded with paper, right? It's going to be funded with fiat. It's going to be funded with inflation, and it's going to be an issue.
I'm taking the other side. I think that the Luddites have been wrong every single time throughout all of human history, and I think yet again they will also be wrong. There will be jobs,
but there's a transition period, right?
And there's always a transition period, but I think we're already seeing new jobs potential being created, right? I mean, there's all sorts of stuff that's happening that is hard to even imagine. I mean, look what Elon's doing trying to get us to Mars. Look at all the space stuff that's happening. We're going to have underwater cities, and you're going to need physical engineers, and there's going to be new jobs that are created to control AI that's doing certain tasks, and I just think that throughout all of human history, we've had this same debate, no matter what the technology, no matter how transformative the technology, whether it's literally the printing press or the personal computer.
Those things get put out of business, though.
Correct. So some jobs are lost, but then this whole new industry. Gain, but some lost. Was it a
plus minus?
No, it's a plus. It's like, hey, we lost the horse and carriage, but now we're manufacturing cars, and we have 50,000.
But if you're the horse person riding the horse, making a living off the horse, is it a plus for you?
No, you lose. It's time to go reskill. So
it's not a plus for everyone. It's a plus.
Well, it's never going to be a plus. But it's also, there's always trade-offs in society. 100%. But guess what? The guy who who hit the horse with the whip. Now, guess what? He can go work at the manufacturing plant and produce part of the motor.
There's also humanoids that are doing a lot of that work too, and robots are coming. Mm-hmm. But the other issue that we have now, which we have not previously faced, I don't believe in this type of technology shift, is the level of debt, is the level of deficits. Is where the government spending already is. So we are approaching this transition period with exorbitant amount of debt. And, let's say, the first 5 years of this transition are going to be, at minimum, are going to be challenging before we get to some of the better jobs, let's say, that come out of AI, 2030 beyond. But what do we do between now and then when we start to, look, the guy from Anthropic who runs it is talking about replacing 50% of white collar workers in the next 2 years. And obviously that's a hyperbolic statement, but these are the types of numbers that are going. We're talking about potentially putting out millions and millions of high paying jobs who have mortgages, who have debt, and so which funds the banking system. There's that transition. I don't disagree with where we might ultimately end up. It's just getting through that point with all the debt we have now is likely to lead to massive UBI, massive printing of money, and probably a general degradation of living standards while we go through this. And that's That's a frightening proposition.
It would suck to not have any Bitcoin. That's all I can say.
I was like, thank God for Bitcoin.
Thank God for Bitcoin. Yeah.
So earlier when you were talking, reflecting back on what she was saying about like trusting the government and all that other stuff, it was reminding me of a conversation Maddie and I were having before the podcast about like the whole Epstein situation currently. It's like with Trump saying what he's saying, it's like you can't trust anything they're saying at all. It's like, well, a couple months ago the Epstein list was there, now it's not. Like, what's really true? Because whatever you're saying, even I voted for Trump, I don't believe a word he's saying about it. And it's just all the politicians across the board. So it's like, it's really hard just to trust the government about anything.
Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong at all. There's it's such a rabbit hole. There's so there's so many different levels. It's like hard to know what's actually true. What changed when you get in office. Maybe there's information that you thought was there that's not there. Maybe there's fake information there. Maybe they just don't want to hide the information. I think, I was talking to Paul the other day about this, and I'm going to actually just read the text I sent because it was like, kind of like with some of my thoughts on the issue, which was like, I'm going to pull it up. So the question is like, hey, if someone's affiliated with somebody, if, you see like, cause there's, all these different implications, like, hey, this person took a picture with Jeffrey Epstein, like Trump has pictures with Jeffrey Epstein from parties, or, hey, Howard Lutnick was apparently his neighbor in Manhattan or something like that. Right.
Jamie Dimon
was his banker. It's like, there's all these associations, right? So it's like, in my mind, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. It's a stretch to go from somebody was an acquaintance / neighbor / rented your private jet, took pictures at parties, to you were raping children on an island. I believe if the Dems had anything on Trump specifically, they would have weaponized it and it would have been leaked to a journalist. Leaked. After all, they tried to sue him, arrest him, invade his wife's underwear drawer, remove him from the ballot for insurrection, and multiple assassination attempts, not to mention making fake dossiers and crazy lies and fake intelligence to try to get him. You better believe if there was real intelligence that could hold up, it would have been released to bury him by his enemies. Howard Lutnick was part of his team as well, and I think they would have leaked it for a scandal. My best educated guess is this was, on the whole situation, was like, this was some kind of intelligence operation that involved multiple allies, Israel, UK, Australia, EU, etc. Trump has been known to run cover for allies before, and did this when the Saudis chopped up Khashoggi and stuck him in a bag at an embassy. He has looked at the big picture and must have decided that it's better kept under wraps than exposed. Without knowing the exact details, I can say I think it should be exposed so people know the truth. But with incomplete info, it's easy to say from the outside looking in. So
it just highlights you can't trust anything.
It's like, yeah, you just don't know what's true. How do we know? It's like if you look at what's being exposed now, it's like Trump saying, yeah, they made this up. Well, like look at the past 4 stories. There was an article I pulled up yesterday where they're just starting to uncover some of these emails, and it's like the FBI, like, hey, we need a predicate so we can investigate, so we can find something to investigate. It's just this crazy fucking thing. And then this guy has a take, this Brendan Dilley, which I thought was interesting. So let's break down the Epstein hoax. Step 1, take a legitimate criminal, exaggerate the influence of this criminal to almost boogeyman status for years. 2, trusted Trump admins promise to get to the bottom of this greatly exaggerated issue. 3, Trump officials get into the position of power and thoroughly investigate remaining documents. 4, Trump FBI realizes that the reporting has been massively overblown and the conspiracy is much smaller and more specific than even they thought. 5, try and tell people the facts which no longer support a theory they adopted as a reality over many years. 6, anti-MAGA weaponize this cognitive dissonance against Trump to fracture his base. 7, Trump goes hard and tells people it's bullshit. Believe me or not, I'm focused on MAGA and you can keep getting played by the Epstein hoax. 8, retards who built an entire brand and identity around a believed reality can't let go of it because then they would have to question everything else they've adopted as a permanent truth. 9, Trump doesn't need your vote, is building a broader coalition for the midterms while cleaning up the election fraud. So he is done hand-holding retards in his base and tells them to fuck off. 10, Trump is proven right, yet again, and influencers never recover. Who knows if that's true? That's his take. I mean, could be. It's like, it's hard to it's hard to know anything without more information. That's kind of how I feel. I think there's definitely something there. I think there's a lot of smoke, and
there's definitely
something there.
And I was listening to a podcast earlier today, with Natalie Brunell and Mike Benz.
Oh yeah, I haven't listened to it yet.
But they were kind of talking about like how, like, I think it was the CIA, how they're literally able to commit crimes as long as the government can't find out it was them, and like that's
that's how they used to do all this stuff. It's kind of like the assassination shit when they try to kill him.
That's what they were talking about, like JFK, and then who's like Jeffrey Epstein's father, and all those other like these things that like kind of like connect the dots. And it's like, well, if that's true and that's the case and that's actually how it works, well, one, we shouldn't trust the government, which is why how we feel makes sense, because if everyone feels this way, it's like, oh shit, like we're not idiots. They're trying to play us for idiots. But it's a really good podcast. Definitely recommend listening, because it's not really a Bitcoin podcast, but
I'm going to listen to it. No, I definitely have a lot of respect for Mike Pence's
I didn't know who he was.
He's well, you have never heard of Mike.
I've heard of him, but I listened. I was like, I like now.
Yeah, he's been blowing all the lid off all of the NGO bullshit and all of the funding propaganda and all this stuff. He's the one who exposed a lot of that. I mean, he's been talking. He's been screaming about that for almost a year now. Jeffe says 6 degrees of separation. So yeah, interesting take there. Paul, you finally found the post I was looking for so long ago. The Alex Acosta, the DOJ official who gave Jeffrey Epstein a sweetheart plea deal in 2008, and who was quoted saying he was told to back off Epstein because he belonged to intelligence, mysteriously had all 11 months of DOJ emails to him in that time period mysteriously disappear. So yeah, this is the post I was talking about, like I think a couple weeks ago. So I think I think personally there's definitely something there. I just don't know if it was what people thought it was, or how much, and who's involved. And, you know, considering all the fake bullshit that the previous intelligence agencies did to try to like go after Trump, and all these fake crazy stories from the dossiers of like him being a Russian spy to just crazy made up bullshit. It's like, who knows what is actually true?
Right. But at the same time, it's like, well, maybe now he just has a built-in excuse to whatever happens that doesn't fit his narrative. True. He can just say, hey, you know what? This is a hoax just like everything else, and we're just supposed to believe it. It's
good point.
Look, I mean, I think he, you know, we've talked about this, but he got elected on a mandate to kind of just, you know, expose and disrupt the deep state and give us the information. And he ran on, I'm going to give you all the Epstein stuff. And so, and JFK and the podcast bro community kind of bought that and really embraced him for this methodology and for this ideology of, I'm going to expose all, you know, everything
to us. Like that's what we wanted to hear.
And people wanted to hear it. And, you know, they didn't like that.
Are you saying a politician would lie?
No, but what I was saying, no, look, give me a second. I'm trying to give Trump some credit here. And he won on that, and he attracted supporters who wouldn't have traditionally went his way because of this idea. And so now that he's recanting on this, you know, those who kind of came to the tent, maybe they came to the tent late, but on this are like, this is bullshit. And you can't say, well, if they had something, Biden would have done it. It's like, no, it's like it was fine. We criticized Biden when he didn't give us, and now we're going to criticize this existing administration just the same. We're not into, you know.
I got a lot of like Democrat friends who are like sending me all this shit. It's like, motherfucker, you don't have the high ground. Right. So you guys are fucking, look at all the lies and conspiracies and bullshit that your fucking team did.
So like, I mean, it's like, you know, the guys like Dave Smith and Joe Rogan, who are now kind of being more critical of Trump, like they should be, and I
it's healthy. We want it both ways. Like we want people
exactly. And so if there's literally nothing, then just release.
There's data Republicans. You know, just the Dems are trying to like use this as messaging now to get up from their 19% approval rating. Data Republican goes, you had 4 years to make an issue of the Epstein files, and you did not. Sit down. So it's like there's no high ground there. That being said, we want. Did you have a thought?
Yeah. Well, I was just saying, like, you know, Trump, maybe he's recanting on this.
Yeah.
But like if he didn't do anything else for the rest of his presidency, like he did do a lot of the things he said he was going to do. Like, I mean,
you expect Trump is like rare in the sense that he's doing way more than like what you would expect of what he said.
Like he did speak to the Libertarian Party with the Ross.
Yeah, he freed Ross,
and he did end up freeing Ross, which was like a huge win for the community. And like actually following through with that was like, that's pretty dope that he actually followed through with that. But then when he does something like this,
it's a rare miss from him politically to like connect with people. He's so off.
But that's the thing, man. You're being very, very forgiving here. We're now escalating wars with Ukraine, right? They're doing more mRNA vaccines. Fluoride's coming back in the water. There has not been a single arrest from the deep state, right? He said he's going to drain the swamp in his first administration. He did nothing. There was no single arrest. Now what we're seeing is the cover up
6 months in. We're not even.
Of arguably one of the most controversial cases in American history, right? That involves American children. And this is where you have to draw a line in the sand. And for him, he could have played this so well. Yeah, the way that he's playing it almost makes him look so implicated and so guilty. And either it's because he's protecting a foreign entity that actually fully controls our government. And that is a theory that is more and more so seeming to be true. And as you look at what Eric Weinstein says, right, who are the people financing this stuff? Why are we not, okay, we don't want to see any, PC. We don't want to see any footage of any of the victims. We don't care about that. We just want accountability. We want the perpetrators arrested. And one way to get to the bottom of that is to follow the money, right? And as Bitcoiners, we know that is where we can find transparency on the Bitcoin blockchain. And in traditional banking rails, they're supposed to follow guidelines too, right? So if we look, like Eric Weinstein is saying here, at who was financing him, then we'll get some answers. But they're not doing any of that. Instead, now they're gaslighting us to our face, making us trying to do the Streisand effect to pretend like it never even happened, right? So that is so disingenuous that people like myself who voted for him for many reasons are now having to doubt all of our trust that we had placed in him.
So I agree to a part, but then I disagree because no one's going to do everything that perfectly that we want.
We are escalating war with Ukraine.
That was already
Palantir technology now has all of American citizens' data. That's worse than a Patriot Act, right? This is a military contracting technology.
That was happening before.
That was happening well before Trump. Yeah,
he came in office.
Make his point now. See what he has to say.
But one of the things that like triggers me with what is going on with Trump in terms of like just like his whole cabinet, the people that I actually really liked and listened to that were not Trump that he brought in, like Dan Bongino, was a huge fan of him.
Yeah.
And then over the last couple of days, like because there definitely was something there.
There's something going on.
I haven't heard anything from Dan Bongino. I haven't heard anything from.
He was supposedly going to resign. Apparently,
he was supposedly going to resign. He was leading up before he went into Trump's cabinet. He was very outgoing and outspoken about this, and now he's not speaking at all. And it's almost like they're telling him to shut up. It seems like.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, well, if there's something there that
of course.
That is like Paul was saying. It's a huge miss from how Trump is approaching this. Like, there's nothing there. It's a hoax. Like, I just feel like that's like it's such a weak. It's like if I did something wrong and I told my mom, it's like it's my brother's fault. Like, it's just like it's not believable.
Yeah. It's a rare political miss. I think he's really misreading the room on it. And I think that Eric Weinstein does talk about this, how they could find out where Epstein got his money. Like no journalists have looked into it. Like what's going on here? The other thing I found that was super interesting was somebody who was looking at cell phone data from the island. I don't know if I flagged it in here, but like it shows people going to his island from like, different countries and all over the place. And it is really interesting to look
Paul,
at that.
did you see can you pull up the Kevin Spacey tweet?
Oh, I saw you.
Now that the files are being swept on the rug, everybody's speaking about it. That's Kevin Spacey for you, but he's asking for the full release, right?
Yeah, aren't there like 25 like civil settlements that have gone on with people who are allegedly affiliated with this that have made civil settlements with I believe, I don't know if they're underage, but they're certainly settlements with women. So there's a list. There's a lot of implicated people who are very wealthy, who are very politically connected in this country. And
I saw something today too about Trump saying he's going to appoint a special prosecutor to look at that. Did you see that?
Since there's nothing there,
right? Yeah. Look, I mean, I think he would like this to go away, and it's not going to go away.
Yeah,
because this was the issue for many people. This issue specifically,
because JFK,
because child rape is just not like there's no
go up.
There's no moral. That is the moral high ground. Like if we're not going to stop on children, then what do we stand for, right? So this is the issue for a lot of people, and you can't just sweep it under the rug. And he's trying to. I think he's learning rapidly that is not a winning message. That's not a winning message. So I expect over the course of the next 48, 72 hours, like there's going to be a shift in the strategy.
You think so?
And he's going to try to figure out like whatever. And look, maybe he has to. Maybe Pam Bondi has to go. Maybe Bongino steps off. Whatever. They're going to have to shift the narrative here quickly.
100%. But if Bongino goes, it raises more of a red flag for me.
Yeah.
Like I liked Bongino before he even was in Trump's. Like I listened to his podcast. Maybe like I just enjoy the way he talked. Whatever it may be. But it's like if he goes, I'm like, well, I can't. He's not a politician, but he is. Whatever. But he came off like a trustworthy person.
Yeah.
He wasn't trying to earn my vote. He was just like providing the facts, shooting to you real. And if he's the one that's leaving, it's like, well, there's something going on that someone's covering up something that he was through enough of a rift to get basically.
I really like the only thing I can like really analyze this to and analogize this to is like when shit went down with Khashoggi in his first term. And the evidence was overwhelming that the Saudis went in there and Mohammed bin Salman's guys fucking went over there and they literally chopped that fucking guy up and put him in a bag and took him out. I mean, like, there was a Rogan podcast about it. The guy who did the Pegasus story about how the Russians were cheating with steroids in the Olympics for so long, and the whistleblower that came over that was a Russian doctor. He did that whole documentary, and he like really, this guy dug into this whole story, and like it was just like, it was slam dunk. Like they definitely took him, they chopped him up, and like Trump and the intelligence age at the time, like they covered it up, and they like literally, I think they used it as leverage to get what they wanted with the Saudis, and that they were basically like playing the whole like ends justify the means game. And I think that this is probably something very similar. This is probably a honeypot intelligence thing that was set up, you know, whether our intelligence agencies are involved, it was definitely with other Five Eyes allies, Australia, UK, Israel. I'm sure this is something like that. And Trump is basically trying to run cover because maybe there's more at stake that we don't know about. Now, do I think that's right, or do I know? I don't have all the facts. That being said, I am still very pleased with the Trump administration so far and all the things that have been done, from, you know, obviously like freeing Ross and the, you know, the Bitcoin stuff, and, you know, being able to have a bank account now, and the tax reductions, and, you know, all of these different things, that deporting, you know, tons of illegal aliens and trying to fix entitlements and encourage some Doge. I think some of the Doge cuts just went through. They actually defunded USAID and NPR and CPBS. They finally got the votes for that. I think Vance was the tie-breaking vote. So I think a lot of the work that Elon did is actually, you know, going to start getting a push through, which is nice to see. So like all in all, like, you know,
it's better than the alternative.
Yeah, the alternative is literally straight communism. And
I'm glad we're in this timeline.
So exactly, like it's not like, you know, yes, we can hold Trump accountable, and I think he should be. I think, you know, we should.
He's not perfect. He's not God.
Exactly. Like, yeah. I feel the same way. You know, and I think, yes, this is important, and I think we should try to, you know, get the truth. I think transparency is always the way. But by and large, I'm very pleased with this administration so far. I'm not going to just like, you know, burn everything down over one issue. That's my take.
Yeah, I mean, you have to hold people accountable.
Of
like
course.
If you know, there's a lot of people that, oh, whatever he does is perfect. It's like, no, like that's not real.
Of course,
like,
no politicians.
No person that's living on this planet is perfect. Everyone has different agendas. There's different, like,
hopefully people keep we get some transparency. Hopefully the message will be received by him that we aren't buying this, and, you know, he can figure out a way to expose it.
The podcast that I was listening to earlier, with Mike Benz, he was also saying that, you know, with the JFK files, most of the people are now like dead and passed away, so we can start like releasing those more because it's not going to implicate the people as much. But with the Epstein files, they're all still alive. So he's like, it's a little harder when these people are still alive to release them, which was a very interesting like perspective. It's like, well, I want them to be alive.
Of course,
when they get released. I think
people want justice and accountability.
We don't want
that's an important, you know, part of human nature.
Yeah, it's like, which is why we're kind of mad that Epstein just died.
Yeah,
because he didn't have to deal with the repercussions of whatever he did.
There was the whole video thing and how they stitched out like a couple minutes. Apparently, there's somebody, J.M. Cole or something, was the Adobe Premium user who took out like 2 or 3 minutes from the video. So it's like there's so much here that's like, it's just,
what are you hiding?
But it's like we don't have all the information. So like all we can do is speculate. And again, like after thinking about this for like a week, like the best thing I can come up with using logic and reason and thinking it through from first principles, like, hey, if there was something on Trump, the previous administration, they made up fake intelligence to get him. If there was real intelligence, you better believe they would have used it. So like, but at the same time, it's like, hey, what's happening here? What makes the most logical sense? Orange is the new Jill. What do you think?
Well, do we really know Epstein's dead?
We do not.
She's crazy. He's
chilling with
conspiracy.
And why are we not saying anything about Diddy?
That's true.
I mean, this is just a big, like, everybody's so distracted with Epstein. They're not even talking about Diddy, or the fact that honestly, he's probably going to get out next year. He didn't get very much time, or he won't get very much time once he gets sentenced. This is all a distraction. He's going
to squeeze right out of those bars with that baby oil.
What if Epstein's the cover up for Diddy?
Oh, shit.
They're all working together.
Well, just because like Diddy's associated with like all the politicians, celebrities, and everyone else. And
allegedly. Look,
Oh.
Trump runs his administration, and he runs his, you know, it's like a TV show, right? And so, and every week is a different episode, and
that's
fucking so true. They don't really, and you know how like when you watch a sitcom or you watch a drama, like not every week, like they don't always go together. Like sometimes they have like a random episode that kind of just stands alone in time, and it doesn't advance the plot. But there are some times where you have to advance the plot. And I think what he's trying to do here is saying, look, next week it'll be a different issue, right? You know, a couple weeks ago it was tariffs, then it was the big beautiful bill, and then it was deportation, it was LA, it was the fires, then it was, you know, the ICE raids, and no one's even talking about the ICE raids anymore. Like that was a big thing 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, right? So he's probably thinking, look, I know how to move the news cycle along. I'm just going to move this news cycle along here too. And this is how I do it. You ask me about it. I tell you you're an idiot. Why are we talking about this? Then you ask me about it again. I tell you, and then this is what he does. The question is this an issue that he cannot move along?
He can't move this one along.
I don't think he can.
And I agree with you. I think he's thinking that he can move it along, but he's forgetting how he got there. He's also forgetting that because of independent media, right? Like the podcast community is not going to stop talking about this. They're going to keep talking about it.
They were talking about before he was announced he was running again.
It's so polarizing that it like draws in media.
Right.
People
it's every time, you know, then he's going to have every press conference. He got again today in the Oval Office at the meeting with the King of Bahrain or whatever. They asked him about it. And so he's going to keep getting asked about it because it's going to stay in the public narrative because the podcast community is not going to let it go away.
And who he has now asking questions to him are some independent media. So it's like those people are...
Right, you invite those people in the room because they help get you elected, but those are the same people now that in theory are going to be critical of some of these things because they're in the room because they brought this to light. They helped you get elected by saying you're going to expose a deep state, you're going to expose Epstein, whatever it is. Now you're letting us in the room in the independent media seat. So now we get to ask questions. Now they're going to ask one question. They'll never be invited back because Caroline's never going to let him back in again. But they get that one chance to ask a question and he has to sit there and answer. And today he was answering and saying like, you guys are all idiots. Like, why are we talking about this? I got the king here. We're doing all these great deals. I got $16 trillion of investments. We just did the big, beautiful bill. And that's his MO, right? He repeats all the great things that he's doing to try to tell you, you're focusing on issue number 50. But for a lot of people, this was issue number 1.
Yeah.
Right.
This is definitely not issue number 1 for me. This is issue 20. But it's definitely
for a lot
still
of people,
an important issue.
It was issue number 1 for them to say, look, we need to get to the bottom of this and Trump's going to get us there. And I'm supporting him because of this, and he thinks he could sweep it under the rug. I don't think that's
him sweeping under the rug is like literally kind of just like makes you feel like we're in the same party as we're in the Biden administration. Right. It's like you guys you're trying to play us like we're fucking idiots. Yeah, and we're not. Yeah, and we like stop trying to gaslight us. But I think that's enough about Epstein. Yeah, what are you guys' thoughts on like the Genius Act? And
let's close out with
those things. Advanced forward.
Yeah, let's close out with that.
Did it?
So I actually posted it. I flagged it. Not a single so don't fool yourself. Not a single Democrat voted to advance this bill. I believe. So if we look at I
honestly have no idea how bills or anything.
Here it is, right here. So this is a post from JD, JD is a prep for profit. So we're gonna call him out here. He's a smaller account, but he's been watching our Cypherpunk series and engaging. So he posted here, Genius and Clarity Acts advance with zero Democratic support. Remember this when voting season returns. One party supports Bitcoin and crypto, and the other is still fighting the industry and is on the wrong side of history and sound money. What do you guys think about this?
Well, one, I have no fucking idea how things get passed through the House and Congress. Like all this, like, okay, it passes here, then it has to pass there. One, that's like, to me, it makes no fucking sense. Never has. So that one. But two, it's like, what about like the people that were on the Democrat side that were like pro Bitcoin? Why or is that not even the people that are having opportunity to vote in
this? No, they all the Democratic they all voted no. Every single Democrat in the House of Representatives voted no to advance this bill.
Because like we've had a few Democrats at our conference. Are they part of the House of Representatives? Are they the ones voting for them?
Which ones are you talking about? I'll tell you.
Like Ro Khanna.
That's exactly
he voted against. Yeah.
So it's like, dude, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, you're trying to get our vote, and then when you're voting for something that we are pushing for, you're voting against it.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying. Politicians that lie. That's why I was laughing. It's like, well, Trump didn't do this one thing he said he was going to do, but he did all the other things. It's like, this is literally what politicians do. They lie about everything. They'll go in front of 1 million people and talk shit for 5 hours and come to the Bitcoin conference and say all this stuff. And then, it comes here to the bill and they all vote no. It's like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, motherfucker.
Yeah,
that's kind of how I feel. But
I feel like everything that we talked about here is always like, oh, this party this and the other party's the opposite, and always this party that party. But I really think that it's not. The two-party system is just to divide the United States, and then it's really all being controlled by the same people. That's why all the Epstein stuff. That's why, you know, maybe there was a Democrat that wanted to vote, but they were told that they weren't allowed. Like, you don't know what's being.
Well, that's what it looks like if you look at that vote.
Exactly. Like,
but have some fucking balls and just stand up for what you believe. That's the way I think about it.
But you don't know if they're gonna like get, you know, fired or killed or something for doing that.
Didn't someone recently, like, in a different election in a different state, like, die and get killed because they voted against something, like Minnesota?
Yeah.
Right?
She was the Speaker of the House.
Oh, that was a whole big scandal. We were trying to unpack that.
Killed,
so she is actually a Democrat.
So she was a Democrat who voted against Democratic.
Yes, so
against the Democratic.
So the question was like,
it
was like two different realities, like the left and the right on this. Like I have a buddy who was like, you know, he's a very far leftist, and he was like sending me all this stuff, like, oh, this is a Trump voter, and they had a video of this guy talking to, like, I guess he had a wife with 5 kids in a house, but was renting a room with a couple cats and living with a Papa John's pizza driver. This is some crazy shit. And Papa John's pizza driver's like, he's a Trump supporter. But then we look at the thing, it was like he was literally nominated to his government position by who's the guy? Tim Walz, yeah. And then the previous Democratic governor before him nominated him, and then is like he was taking all this USAID money, and his NGO got shut down apparently. And then I think he was just mentally insane. I think that's what it ended up being. But he assassinated this woman who was like a Democrat, but she had sided with the Republicans like a couple hours before to like say, no, we're not going to give taxpayer benefits to illegals who live here. Like, that's crazy. And she stood up for that, and then she was killed. So the question is, like, what was did he have political motivations? Was he just psycho? And apparently in his memoir, he said that Tim Walz wanted him to kill.
Yeah, that came out yesterday. You saw that, right?
No, I didn't see it yesterday.
Yeah, it came out yesterday. He wrote something to, I think, Kash Patel, and it's you should read it after the show because it's a pretty long.
Yeah, send it.
I will.
We'll have Paul send it to Paul. Put it in the show notes. But
anyways, yeah, back to the Genius Act and everything. Like, so
they are the Epstein list. Ooh, see that comment?
That's
so true.
Are the Epstein list. I saw somebody post that. The reason the Epstein issue won't go away is because it exposes the deep state. The deep state. Yeah, I mean, we know the deep state exists. The CIA, these intelligence agencies. It's a cesspool of disgusting things that should not even exist. Half this stuff. I mean, like I said, my take would be take these intelligence agencies, blast them to the wind into 1,000 pieces. Have one intelligence agency and put it as part of the military, so it's underneath the military, and the military's job is to protect the American population. So all of this like crazy propaganda bullshit where they try to go get political people and do all these honeypots and all this fucking nonsense, they should only focus should be on protecting America, and that's it. Like, they shouldn't be going to churches and arresting people in their homes who are posting stuff on social media complaining about the government like they've been doing, or none of that should exist. They should only try to protect from terrorist attacks or any kind of attack from an enemy. That's all it should be.
Yeah, I agree on it's another one of those things where you can just say Bitcoin will fix this because they do have the money printer. They can continue doing whatever the fuck they want because they control the money printer. But if you defunded them and then they no longer have that ability to do so, how long can they actually survive without it? So it's very interesting to see like how that will play out.
Right. You know, you definitely, but how long will that take to play out, right? It could be 100 years, it could be 1,000 years, right? Before they exhaust their capital and resources and acquire as much Bitcoin as possible, and then essentially leverage that Bitcoin, hypothecated the way that we're seeing them do now. But my ultimate concern, and the reason I think this Epstein thing is such a big deal, is because it is a unifying issue. Everybody should stop to protect children, right? If we're not doing that, it's almost like we're consenting to what's going on. And so I feel like this is an opportunity to actually rid this deep state or whatever it may be from their position of power, because we can say, hey, you have crossed a line that is like, you cannot recover from this. You cannot gaslight us anymore. We now see through you, and we demand justice. We demand transparency. And if we don't, guess what? We're going to get more of the same. More of the same.
Agreed. So the Genius Act and all this, like, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think it's good for America, good for people in our industry to have some
more clarity.
To have more clarity, so people can do things, right? I mean, without having to be scared to not have a bank account and to be like taken to jail by the government. So some rules of the road, which really was the government's role. They should just set the rule. They should set the rules of the game and kind of be as permissive as possible and just play referee. Play referee.
I was going to say. So this is stupid political shit, but the vote that you're seeing here was a vote to reconsider the motion to have a vote. So the reason that Democrats vote against this is because, whatever, they're trying to just be disruptive. They don't like a certain thing in the bill or whatever. And so this isn't the official passage of the vote hasn't happened yet. They're on the floor right now, I believe, actually literally right now, discussing this, and probably will vote. I suspect, maybe I'll be wrong when we look at this later, but I suspect there will be Democrats who vote for this bill.
That'll be nice to see,
this is like the procedural nonsense that goes on behind the scenes just to make DC more intolerable than it already is, right? So there'll be Democratic members who are like, oh, well, we don't really need to do this now, or it's not perfect, or
they don't want to give the Trump administration
so let's not, and because yesterday they voted against it, right? So yesterday Republicans voted against it. So
did you read why?
I don't exactly know. I know they had a conversation with Trump last night, and then they all changed their minds.
So Marjorie Greene, she was saying like it wasn't strong enough on like the anti-CBDC language.
Okay.
So it wasn't
right. So there was a legitimate reason why.
She was like, the language in there does not say that we can't have an we can't have in the future. So it's like I'm not voting for this unless it's more strong on that.
Yeah.
So that's what she was saying.
Right.
So I support that.
So let's see what happens next time when we chat. Let's see if any Democrats come. I suspect there will be some.
Yeah, so did they add that language to do the anti-CBD stuff?
Dude, I honestly I don't know, I don't want to answer. But I do do you guys understand like how shit gets passed, like the process?
Kind of, yes. I mean I have a general understanding
most things in the House. There hasn't been much getting passed.
It'll go to the Senate.
You haven't really missed much.
Yeah, the big beautiful bill was the only thing that really has finally made it across the finish line. It looks like
for the most part, you need 60 votes in the Senate to pass anything, right? And so it's very difficult to pass anything. And you need the House to pass something, and then you need the Senate generally to vote on it. But there are times when you only need 51 votes from the Senate to get something passed, including this reconciliation bill, which is what the big beautiful bill. That's how it got passed.
Gotcha.
So there are certain bills that only need 51, but most bills will need 60, and so that's the kind of the difference. So the big beautiful bill got passed, but only certain parts of legislation can get passed with 51 only. It has to be certain types of legislation, certain types of rules, certain types of laws that have been previously discussed that are acceptable to be passed with only 51. So but there hasn't really been a lot of legislating going on because the margins are pretty tight, right? The House Republican advantage is on like 5.
It really just it shocks me to think about like if you really play this out, a lot of things that change are the executive orders. And then every 4 years we can get a new president who can just take away the executive orders, replace them with their own, and continue to do this every few years. So it's literally designed to keep like this like in a weird rat. Because nothing get passed. It's like impossible for them to agree in a 2-party system. I personally think Elon Musk is on the right track having another third party that he supports, because like if RFK was in Elon Musk's party when he was running, like I would have voted like. You know what I mean?
The problem is I think you'd have just ended up with Kamala Harris as the president, and then you have to be dealing with it would be the open borders on steroids times 1,000 plus more spending plus higher taxes plus literally not having a bank account if you're a crypto company plus selling the remaining 30,000 Bitcoin that the U.S. has plus.
But the good news is Trump is not going to be able to. The good news is Trump won't be able to run again.
In theory,
and allegedly. But that being said, there's a lot of people that are voting for Trump, no matter what, Republican, whatever it is, right? But those people are no longer going to be able to vote for Trump, and a lot of those people are not just Republicans. They'll vote for another candidate if they're in another third party at this point. Because Trump is a Republican, but he's not a true Republican.
I think he just took over the Republican Party.
Correct. So after this is over, there's no more Trump lingering. It's going to be J.D. Vance, most likely. Who knows what's going on the Democrat side? And then if there's a third party, who's that going to be? Because I'd be open to voting on a third party or even Democrat, depending on what they stood for. But like Trump being out is going to really be.
Ron DeSantis, who is the great governor of Florida, he had some interesting takes on this whole issue. But he basically said, like, the things Elon really wants, like, all you need to do is to get it to pass the easier and less expensive way would be this, like, convention of states where you get, like, 5 or 6, you just need, like, 5 or 6 more states to agree to pass this, like, this clean budget bill or
amendments. Like, basically, that if he put more money behind having, I think you need 38 states in order to pass, like, a balanced budget amendment. Because right now, I think there's 31 states or so, 32 that have already approved that, and
so it's real close.
In theory, if you could put a lot of money in 6 or 7 more states, you can then have this quorum of 38 states and pass an amendment, and that could create a balanced budget, which is kind of seems to be his number one issue. And that would be a lot more cost effective than creating a third party. That's also a way for Republicans to tell Elon, don't spend your money on something else, spend it on us. So there's a little bit self-serving there from DeSantis, not surprising. But I don't know. I mean, I don't think Elon's looking to create a third party that can necessarily win the presidency. I think he's looking to be a kingmaker in that he will come after 7 to 10 House seats and 2 to 3 congressional seats. And so that America Party basically is the swing vote on every piece of legislation. And so, that might just mean we literally get nothing done, right? Or we are doing more to consensus build and we're doing more. Because look, I think there was, the big, beautiful bill was supposed to be deficit reducing, right? I mean, these guys ran, Bessent is talked about bringing down the deficit to 3% of GDP by the end of the term. It's 7 now, right? And this bill is going to make it worse. Now, we could holding the tariffs aside, that's obviously a big deal, but
that's a big part of this.
But it's not good. We're not getting to 3, and in the first 18 months, we're going to be expanding the deficit. So Elon's like, this is bullshit. Like again, another thing. Like we ran on, and I supported you.
I spent
$250 million of my time because you said we were going to cut the deficit, and then we're coming in here, and I became the Doge master, and you didn't let me get anything done.
Well, they got a lot done, and they just passed a $9 billion rescission that they.
Yeah, but these are pennies in front of us.
I think he's used to being the CEO, and that he can snap his fingers and remove all the waste immediately. He's used to doing that, and he sees this, which is there's incredible fraud bullshit, and I think he's just extremely frustrated by how quickly this can happen. A and B, also the fact that he's taking this CBO, supposedly independent budget projections and all of this, he's taking that at face value, which, to Bessent's credit and Trump's credit, they said, look, these are the people that work here, have not donated to a Republican in 25 years, not a single person in this staff office. They're not independent. They're literally all Democrats. And of course, they're not going to give his bill and ratings the proper projections that, he thinks it's going to be. And we're already seeing that they were completely wrong. They already missed the tariffs they're not even fully rolled out, and they're already massively outperforming the projections. So to be fair, Trump was right about that. And so was Bessent, so let's see how this all plays out. Like, let's give it some time to actually see what happens. And they said, look, we are going to go forward with those. We're going to continue to cut stuff, and we have to do these rescission packages to get it done. So, I think Elon's just used to having his cake and being able to eat it too, and have it like on the pace that he can want and have. And I just, I think
that's just part frustrating because he highlighted something that probably could have kept going a little bit further, found more stuff, and he kind of got the plug pulled. It's like, bro, what are you doing? We're just scratching the surface, and you're pulling the plug.
He got deep stated, right? He got
exactly.
Basically got stonewalled, which was kind of
the whole point,
right?
Like it's like, bro, anyways.
He admitted on national television that if he were to reveal the extent of the crime and the corruption, that he would
it's
be
just
killed.
Massive.
Just like if we were to reveal Epstein list. So that's exactly what I'm getting at. It's the same perpetrators, and that's why we all cannot let go of the Epstein thing. This is our chance to get them out. I'm telling you, this is it. No human being with any self-dignity can stand by while literally children are being fucking raped. Like I cannot let go. I can't just move on.
I agree with him on that.
Yeah,
kids are important.
No, of course.
They're the future.
The question is exactly like that's
our fucking kids. 80% of the trafficked kids in America.
My kids aren't going to Epstein Island. I'm protecting my kids,
right? Regardless where they're from, like this needs to end. And this kind of corruption is only enabled through fiat. And this is why, once again, Bitcoin fixes this. But I don't want to wait 100 years. I don't want to wait 1,000 years. I don't think we're going to have to wait 1,000 years in this under this administration.
The average fiat lifespan for a fiat currency is roughly 50 years, and we're right around that mark. So.
Paul, I think you were excited about the prospect of this administration accelerating the path to that kind of society that we all kind of yearn for of accountability and trust. And I think what we're realizing is that while we're getting some of the good things economically or even socially, and then immigrate, whatever it is, that these fundamental truths about truth and about accountability and justice, we're not getting those. We're getting as bad as the prior administration, and maybe even worse, right?
I think that's quite a stretch.
It's worse because of who it's coming from and what they ran on.
That's what I'm saying. Right? So that's
worse. It feels
right.
I see what you're saying.
Right. So that's why it feels like an affront, right? That's why it feels like you're being gaslit, and that's why you're like, this is bullshit, because I thought we were on this accelerated path, and now I know we're not. And I'm fucking concerned about that because I don't, like you said, I don't want to wait 100 years. And
if it's not you, who's running next? Who's going to do it? And if you're not,
I'm just so used to being lied to about every single thing by politicians that it's like, shit, I can deal with like 9 out of the 10 things that were promised coming through.
The
and
fact
like,
that you even have to fucking say that though is just wild.
That's that's literally the society we've always lived in. I mean, that's literally as long as I can remember. Like every politician that's ever run that I've ever like it's like this guy lies out of 9 out of 10 things, and this guy lies out of 8 out of 10 things. Okay, I guess I'll go with the guy who's only lying about 8 out of 10 things.
My first politician thought that I can recall is Bill Clinton getting his dick sucked by Monica Lewinsky.
Yeah,
that's literally like
that's the first thing I remember too. It's like
my first.
I deny sexual relations with that woman.
And then
get back down there, Monica. Get back down there, Monica.
A couple years later, 9/11 happens. That was like I'm 35 years old.
Yeah.
Those are kind of like, and then it's like, okay, well then you grow up, and it's like then it's like, well, holy shit, you start asking these questions. Like, then it's like, whoa, it's very hard to trust our government. It's unfortunate.
Of course.
And then then you can go down the Bitcoin rabbit hole and how like Bitcoin kind of, because it's so transparent, because it's like those ethos are so important, and it's like you just wish they would apply to everything across the board, but they don't at all, and they fall very, very short, and it's very infuriating.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I think this Bitcoin clearly is it's the way out. It's
the shining light.
What I've found myself more is even getting more, I don't know if despondent's the right word or not, but just more, more concerned, right? And I think that, while there may have been some positive momentum from this administration, now I'm kind of like, you know what? These guys are kind of they're all kind of sewn from the same cloth. And thankfully I have Bitcoin, and I find myself being more internal, right? As long as I have my ability to earn and save, and I've become much more local. I'm just like focusing on my family and my extended local universe, and some of these larger societal American problems. I'm kind of not nothing I can do about it anymore. And like the more, and that's my thought. And I think a lot of people are going to start retreating from kind of that national. Let's go to dynamic and just kind of be more local. How can I improve my local community?
Like what you can control?
That's why local coffee shop, not Starbucks. Let's stop going to the chains. Let's build our community.
And I don't know what that means for America in the future. I'm not exactly sure, but I don't know if it's like, do I care? I don't know. It's like I got to focus on what I can do here in this zip code, in this county, in this area.
I love that, but guess what? They can enforce their monopoly on violence at any moment in time. And if they decide to mandate some experimental potion because next time around there's some more lethal pandemic,
I'm going to mandate you a sleep potion here in about a second.
Our communities, they're not protected, right? And so this, I get what you're saying.
No, there's a dynamic here of my isolationism is. If everybody self-isolates.
I don't think you're saying isolate, though. I think you're saying more so like, let's take care of like the people that I'm closest to.
Yeah, but if we all retrace and don't really care about the national scene, what we're going to have is, we can get run over by fascist policies or these type of things. So if we all are doing, if all of us Bitcoiners are like, you know what, fuck it, we have Bitcoin, like we're just going to stick with it and we'll do our own thing, and we know it's working and it's actually being supported by the government, but we're not going to get involved in some
That's why orange pilling people is one of the best things you can possibly do. It's the most difference that you can possibly make. It's why I started the meetup and why
I'm here on this
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's like that is what you can do. Not like, like we can talk about all this stuff, but like we have no effect on the intelligence agency releasing these files on the situation that happened 20 years ago.
But I think what I was trying to get at is I think there was some momentum behind this new administration coming in and kind of taking that ethos and like taking us into some better place. Yeah. And
we could still get there.
I think we're already getting there.
I was a skeptic of that too. I'm not like, but I'm kind of like, you know what? This is like, it's like not even worth.
I was a big bull on Trump, and like this last week, and again, it could be like the way the media's spinning it or whatever it is, but this last week has definitely kind of jaded me a little bit. It was like,
I mean, of course, yeah. I mean, if you're like worshiping a politician, like you're worshiping, you know what I mean? But like, I know what you're saying, but like when a politician lies to you, you should like, it's just like, that's what politicians do. You know what I mean? Like, that's what they fucking do. Like, that is what a politician really is. It's like, so like, I was never like attached to this whole like, fantasy that we were going to get everything we wanted. Like every single thing he campaigned on, we were going to get, right? we've got a damn sure lot of stuff that he campaigned on, and I'm still very pleased with this administration compared to the other outcome of an extension of the Biden-Kamala Harris presidency, right? On so many different levels, from taxes to crypto,
voted on
immigration to bill. Like this is like we are still in my opinion, headed in such a great trajectory, and I'm very pleased. Now, I'm never going to agree with every single thing that any politician does, and I think Trump is definitely wrong on this, and I think he's missed the mark. But like, I'm not going to throw out the baby with the bathwater. That's the way I think about it.
Hot water burn babies.
Yeah, hot water burn babies. But that being said, guys, I have to run out of here soon. So why don't we get a closing thought from everybody? It was a pleasure to have you all on. Where can they find you, Jill?
They can find me at Bitcoin Jill, just pretty much everywhere.
Okay.
Yeah. How about you?
Buy Bitcoin.
You can find me at Hanson Hash on X.
Yeah, I'm on X too, CES921.
All right, and you can find me at Matty Ice Sensei. It's been a pleasure, boys. It's a wrap, and girls. All right, guys.